Last time I showed you this supply and demand graph, okay? You're going to be sick to death of it. You're going to see it all semester, okay? Pretty much. So, in fact, all joking aside, it's really critical that you understand this bit here, okay? Because I told you I don't give a final or a midterm, right? Yeah? Yeah, no midterm, no final. Any objections? And the reason being is that if you don't get this beginning part, you ain't going to get it at the end either, okay? This is important to understand all the way through. So if you're having any trouble with this, please see me after class. I'll be happy to spend some time with you to go over it, all right? But it's very important that we understand these concepts of supply and demand and the graphs moving and why they move and what's the result when they do. One of the curves moves, all right? So let's first we'll talk about demand, right? Demand is, we have demand as consumers, as individuals. We have a demand to purchase goods and services, of course, to satisfy some of our unlimited wants. And what the law of demand says is that as price goes up, in general, the quantity we are willing to buy goes down, right? Makes sense. Increases in prices lead to decreases in quantities demanded, all right? Quantities demanded, right? So there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. Now, I'm going to use absolute values for the time being, which means I'm going to put up like money prices, all right? And then we'll talk about what this really means in a few minutes, all right? Now, if we plotted price versus quantity demanded, okay? Let's pick a good. What's a good good? Cell phones? Okay. We'll put cell phones. Well, now, by the way, when we talk about a particular good, these goods are generic, meaning there's no differences between my iPhone and your paltry, whatever you've got. Okay. All right. That they are all generic. A cell phone is identical to every other cell phone. It's neither better in quality or worse in quality. It has the same features. All right. These are generic items. So, generic cell phone. Let's say, what possible prices could we have for cell phones? We'll put $50, $75, and $100. All right. And let's say in our community here, our economy, there are 30 of us. Now, by the way, each one of us has our own individual demand curve that I'm going to plot on what's called a market curve, okay? But each one of us has our own individual demand curve, meaning that if the price of a cell phone was $100, I might buy one, but you might not. And when we add ourselves together, when we add all our individual demand curves together, we come up with what's called a market curve that I'm going to draw for you in a minute, okay? All right, so let's say out of, there's 30 people in our population, this classroom, okay, 30 people. Let's say that if the price was 50, all 30 of us would be happy to buy a phone, okay? If the price of a cell phone was $75, now we'll put only 20 people. And then finally, if the price went all the way up to 100, only 10 of us would be willing to buy this cell phone, all right? So we can see that as price increases, the quantity we're willing to buy goes down, the inverse relationship, okay? We can plot this. Price is always on, this axis, okay? And quantity is always here. So we've got 10, 20, and 30. Everybody see that all right? And $50, $75, and $100. So at a price of $50, we'll take 30. This doesn't seem to be marking where I'm putting it. 75, we'll take 20, doesn't matter. And at a price of 100, only 10. So we can draw the demand curve like that, meaning that if the price was somewhere between 175, we would buy somewhere between 10 and 20, right? So we can fill in all of these dots, and now we have a demand curve. It really shouldn't go all the way down to the bottom there, okay? Okay, here's our demand curve, all right? Okay, it's a downward sloping curve, right? And I tend to draw it as a curved line. It can oftentimes it'll appear as a straight line, all right? I don't know why I like the curve shape better, okay? So what this shows is as price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. If we are at a price of $50, we'll take, what did we say, 100? No, 30, okay? But if the price rises to 75, then the quantity demanded now falls to 20. We move from this point on the curve up the curve, okay? A change in price will move us from one point on the curve to another and will result in a change in quantity, okay? Changes in price, delta. Change in price leads to a change in quantity, okay? Changes in prices lead to changes in quantities, all right? So far, so good? Okay. Now, I put up a money price here, okay? This isn't really correct. We don't care about money prices, the absolute price, the price that you have to pay when you buy a good. We only care about those prices in terms of how they relate to the prices of other goods over the course of time, okay? All in general, I mean, this is not an exact statement, of course, but over the course of time, say decades, right? What happens to most prices of most goods? Fall. Say what? Fall? No, they go up. We always tend to have a little bit of inflation, right? On average throughout the economy, prices tend to go up a little bit. Is there anything today that's cheaper than it was 75 years ago in terms of the price you have to pay? Hey, what? Yeah, that's about it. Computers and cell phones, some levels of technology, absolutely, prices come down, absolutely. The price that you have to pay, yeah.
This seems that the price rising has more to do with inflation of the money supply. In other words, regardless of what good you're talking about, it still takes less labor hours to buy any sort of thing.
Right.
So the actual price of what you have to give of yourself to get something falls.
That's true, but you're talking about what's called relative price, and I was just talking about absolute price. The actual dollar price that you have to pay tends to go up over the course of time, computers being a notable exception, right? Advances in technology, production technology tends to reduce price. We're going to see, of course, why that's the case. But in general, a loaf of bread is way more expensive than it is 50 years ago. An hour of labor, raw human labor, more expensive than 50 years ago, right? Okay. But some prices, some absolute prices go up faster than others, okay? Everything tends to go up, but some go up faster than others. Those goods whose prices go up faster than others become, relatively speaking, more expensive. Those goods whose prices go up slower than others, relatively speaking, become less expensive. Remember we talked about opportunity costs, what you have to sacrifice in terms of what you have to give up to get more of this, right? What we're really talking about in terms of what's called relative prices, how much of other goods do I have to sacrifice to get this good? If I have to sacrifice more of other goods to get this good becomes relatively more expensive. If I can sacrifice fewer goods to get this particular good, then this good becomes relatively less expensive, even though prices might be going up, okay? Here's an illustration, okay? Let's say we have shoes and sneakers, okay? You buy one or the other. And let's say that a price of a decent pair of shoes, we'll say, is $200. And the price of a decent pair of sneakers is $100. Now, if the law of demand talked about absolute price, we would say if the price of a good goes up, we would buy less of it. Okay? But let's say that the price of both of these goods go up by $100. If we cared about absolute price, we would say we would buy less sneakers and less shoes. Okay? But when both prices go up by $100, one of these becomes relative to the other more expensive, and the other one becomes cheaper, meaning one of them we have to sacrifice more of the other good to get it, and one of them we have to sacrifice less of the other good in order to get it. Here's what I mean. Okay? When we were here, okay, in order to buy a pair of shoes, how many pairs of sneakers would you have to sacrifice? 2. So one pair of shoes cost me 2 pairs of sneakers. Okay? When both prices went up by $100, now to get a pair of shoes, how many pairs of sneakers do I have to give up? 1.5. Okay? So shoes, relative to sneakers, have become less expensive. What I have to give up in terms of the other good has shrunk. Instead of giving up 2 pairs of sneakers, I now only have to give up 1.5. Okay? Over here, what's happened to sneakers? In the past, to get a pair of sneakers, I only had to sacrifice a half a pair of shoes. Now, to get a pair of sneakers, I have to give up 2/3 of a pair of shoes. Now, sneakers have become, relatively speaking, more expensive. Shoes, relatively speaking, less expensive. I have to give up more shoes to get a pair of sneakers, but I have to give up less sneakers to get a pair of shoes. Okay with that? All right? And this is what we're talking about. So when I put this up here with a price of $100, $50, $10, whatever, that's really not accurate. What we're really talking about is, let's say this is shoes. Shoes. Okay? The price of shoes. Shoes are just as expensive as sneakers. 1.5 times as expensive as sneakers. In other words, I have to give up 1 pair of shoes to get a pair of sneakers. I have to give up 1.5 pairs of shoes to get a pair, well, whatever, okay? I should have put sneakers up there. Or I have to give up 2 pairs. So as what we have to give up, as the opportunity cost of this good rises, because we have to give up more and more of other goods to get it, we buy less. Okay? So the curve is shaped like that. All right? Does that make sense? When sneakers were or shoes were I should make that sneakers, just as expensive, we would buy that amount. But when sneakers became 1.5 times as expensive as sneakers, less, even though prices of both are going up. Okay? And then if shoes were twice as expensive as sneakers, we would buy even less. Okay? Is that okay with you? All right? So when we talk about prices, oftentimes I will put the money price up here because it's easy to understand. It's clearer. Okay? But really, when we talk about price, we're talking about relative price, the price of one good in terms of another. If I have to sacrifice fewer goods to get this good, I'm going to buy more of it. But if I have to sacrifice more of these goods to get this, I'm going to buy less. Okay with that? Okay. Question?
I don't know if this is related, but it says like it costs 7 cents to make a nickel, right? A nickel is only 5 cents.
Yeah.
So eventually, the cost of making a nickel is really like, eventually you could have more nickels that are worth an actual nickel.
That's interesting. Yeah, you could. That's an interesting thing.
Is it like the same thing?
Not really, because we're not. We don't like to buy nickels, not really, because it's not really a good. It's just money as a means for acquiring goods and services. So, I'm not sure. That's pretty absurd, anyway, isn't it? Do we need pennies anymore? No. I throw mine away. I do. I throw them in the trash when I get them. I do. It costs more to make a penny than its value, in terms of its purchasing power. It's absurd to make these things. But that's an interesting question. I'm not really sure how to how to answer that, except not quite the same, because it's not, I mean, money is certainly something we desire, but what money does for us, of course, is allow us to acquire goods and services, right? It's not an in and of itself, although some people feel that way. They like to just have money to have money, right? But anyway, okay with that? So I'm going to use money prices frequently, but don't forget, what we really care about is relative price. All goods tend to go up. Some go up faster than others. Those goods become, relatively speaking, more expensive, but those goods whose prices aren't rising as fast, relatively speaking, become less expensive. All right? Okay. Now, let's see. These curves aren't stable. Okay? There's events that may cause the demand curve to shift in or out. Okay? We talked a little bit about this last time. I'm going to use price again and quantity demanded, 1. All right? And let's see. Let's make it a widget this time. Okay? Anybody know what a widget is? It's a thing. A thing. All right? It's a thing. Now, let's say that widgets, $5, $10, $15, $20, and $25. Okay? And there's 40 of us in the population of people in the market for widgets. Okay? If the price is $5, all 40 will buy. If it goes up to 10, 30, okay, 20, 10, I guess I ran out of people, 5. Okay. So as price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. Okay, so we can graph this. Actually, I should probably put the numbers in before I draw the curve. Okay, so we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And what do I do? Quantity 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. And then we can plot this. And we have this downward sloping demand curve. Okay? I should have moved that over a little bit more. I think I'll move this over a little bit more. What was that, 40? Okay. Now, there are certain things that will cause this curve to change its position, okay, to shift out or in. Let's say that this represented the quantities demanded by 40 people. What if I doubled the population? I put another 40 people just like the first 40 together. What would happen to these quantities? They would increase, right? I mean, when we only had 40 people at $5, all 40 would buy. We figured that if we had 80 people, 80 would buy. So at $5, instead of only 40, we'd be out here with 80, okay? And that would be the same case. Well, let's make it 50 people so we don't have to move it out so far, okay? So quantity demanded 2, if we got more people, would be 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. So what happens is this curve has shifted out to the right, okay? This is called an increase in demand, okay? When we move from one point, let's say we started at, let's say we're going to move in these two columns here. If price goes from $20 to $15, we go from $20 to 15, right? No, sorry, wrong way. $20 to 15, okay? We move from one point on the curve, price goes down, quantity demanded increases. When the good's own price changes, okay, we move from one point on the curve to the other. That's a change in quantity demanded. Change in quantity demanded, okay? Movement along the curve due to a change in price. However, if something else changes, like population, that causes us to buy more at every possible price, then the entire curve shifts out. That's a change in demand, okay? So what I'm saying is, as we move up and down this column, that is a change in quantity. Why is this doing that? It's writing below what I'm putting it. Change in quantity demanded, okay? A movement from one point on the curve to the other. But a shift of the entire curve, okay? Moving from this column to that column, okay? Not up and down in the column, but to a different column. At every possible price we want more. The entire demand curve shifts out. That is a change in demand itself, okay? Change in demand at every possible price. We want more or we want less, okay? Change in quantity demanded is caused by a change in the goods price itself. For whatever reason, the goods price goes up. We move from one point on the curve to the other. The curve itself will not shift. Don't forget this. Changes in prices do not shift curves. Changes in non-price factors shift curves, okay? Changes in prices move us from one point on the curve to another. That's a change in quantity demanded. But a shift of the entire curve, in or out, because at every possible price, we want more or less. That's a change in demand itself, okay? Change in demand, whole curve shifts. Change in quantity demanded, movement along the curve. The curve shifts for a variety of reasons. These are called the ceteris paribus assumptions. Ceteris paribus. Actually, let's move to another. Ceteris? Where's the I? Ceteris? Ceteris paribus. Okay? Is that Greek? Anybody take Greek? Or is it Latin? Latin? Anybody taking Latin? Does anybody take Latin anymore? Only doctors, I think, right? You were taking Latin?
I did.
You did? Huh? How'd you like it? Amo, ama, amat? I took no Latin, all right? Ceteris paribus. All of the things remaining the same. Now, I said this a number of times last class. All of the things remaining the same, if this thing changes, then this will be the result, all right? Again, in economics, we assume that nothing else is changing unless we decide to change it, okay? That all conditions remain the same except for that condition that we want to check or examine, like the price is changing, okay? As price goes up, we buy less. All of the conditions remaining equal. That's not always the case. Price could go up and we could buy even more. Why? Because we want more of it, okay? No matter what the price, we want more, all right? But all other things remaining the same, meaning none of these conditions changing, okay, then that's the assumption that we're going to make, that nothing else changes. But when something does change, curves will shift. When non-price factors that affect how much we're willing to buy, the determinants of demand, change, then the demand curve itself will shift position in or out, okay? Now, what can there be? Let's look at a few things, okay? We already looked at population, right? As population increases, population of people in the market for this good increase, at every possible price, we'll buy more. The demand curve will shift out to the right, okay? This is a change in demand, an increase in demand. If the curve shifts out to the right, we have an increase in demand. If it shifts into the left, a decrease in demand, all right? Okay? So increases in population, curve's going to shift out. By the way, do you know the only Western industrialized country that is increasing in population? Only one. That's not industrialized yet. That's lesser developed, considered lesser developed. Say what? Canada? No, eh? Not Canada, eh? You know they say eh in Canada, eh? In fact, you know how you spell Canada? C-A-N-A-D-A, eh? No, the United States. The United States is the only industrialized Western country, including Western Europe, North America, Australia, New Zealand. Actually, Australia might be also increasing in population, and Japan is not. Japan is shrinking big time, okay? So Russians, shrinking big time, losing population, big time, okay? What's the difference? As countries get richer, they tend to have smaller families, okay? But here in the United States, we have such a huge amount of immigrants and increasing and more immigration. And immigrants tend to have larger families. So not only are we letting lots of people into the country, which is keeping our population from falling, but those people tend to have more children, right, than the native-born people here, okay? So alone amongst the developing countries of the world, the United States is seeing a fairly significant population growth. But Europe shrinking, Japan shrinking big time. That's going to be very traumatic for Japan, by the way. And you know anything about Japan? It's homogeneous, single culture, single population, right? And as the population shrinks, they don't have enough people to cover all the jobs that they have. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to import labor, and that's going to change the makeup of Japanese society, I think, in the future. We'll see, okay? Anyway, so increases in population, decreases in population, okay? What else would cause us to buy more? Well, think popularity, okay? As a good becomes more popular, at every price, we want more of it, okay? That example I gave you last time, if this was lobster, okay? And right now we're buying, this is our demand curve. At this price, we would buy this much lobster. At that price, we'd buy that much lobster. If the price of lobster really went up, we'd buy less, but we'd buy that amount. And if we found out that lobster made you live, if you ate lobster once a month, you'd live 10 years longer. Would we buy more lobsters at every possible price? Yes, we would. So as our tastes for this good increase, as this good becomes more popular, we desire it more than we used to. At every possible price, we want more. The demand curve will shift out, okay? So this is called tastes and preferences. What would happen if you found out that if you ate, lobster would make you a more attractive person. If you found lobster made you a more attractive person, at every possible price, we'd buy more lobster. But what if you found out later on that it would sterilize you? You wouldn't be able to have kids. What would happen now? Eat more of it. Probably true. And I would encourage you to do so. But if you were hoping to have a family and you found out lobster made you sterile, at every possible price, we would consume less. Okay? This tends to be true for fashion-type goods, right? 15 years ago, there wouldn't be a male in this class without wearing a baseball cap, okay? Everybody was wearing baseball caps, okay? And then what's happened now? Not so many, right? They become less popular. So as a good becomes more popular, because it's the thing to have, if you don't have one, you're a loser, okay? Then you got to go out and get one, okay? But then you find out if you have one, you are definitely a loser, then you don't want one anymore, okay? All right, so popularity, as fashions come and go, goods become more popular. At every price, we want more of them. And as they become passé, old-fashioned, no longer cool, at every price, we want less. And these are called the ceteris paribus conditions, okay? Conditions. That changes in these will shift the curve. These are non-price. Non-price. Determinants, okay? Determinants, it says determinants of demand, all right? Non-price, changes in non-price determinants of demand will shift the curve in or out. So what else do we have? Populations, tastes and preferences, incomes, absolutely, okay? Now, you know, if you earn more money. Let's say you like to eat lobster once a month, and the price of lobster is $8 a pound. Okay? Okay, $8 a pound. And so at $8 a pound, we're eating that quantity of lobster. If we all get a nice big raise, we're going to eat more lobsters? Yeah, hell yeah. Okay? So as our incomes increase, at every possible price, we buy more of the things that we want to have, right? We are able to satisfy more of our wants at every possible price if we have more income. So as incomes increase, demand increases also. Okay? How about this though? Let's say you're a student, and what are you eating mostly if you're a student? Sandwiches, pizza. A lot of pizza. Right? I love pizza though. This is probably not a good example. Let's say you eat hamburgers a lot. Okay? No, even better. I think the book gives ramen noodles. Okay? Ramen noodles, because you can't afford much of anything else. I used to eat a ton of that stuff when I was in college. Okay? Ramen noodles. Now, if you have you go out and you get a job after you graduate from college, and you're earning money now and making more income, are you going to eat more ramen noodles? Hell no. You're going to eat less, okay? All right. So this isn't true for all goods. There are a certain class of goods called inferior goods that if we have more money, we don't buy more of them. We buy less because we prefer something else, okay? Like you don't have enough money to buy a nice leather jacket, so you buy a look-alike vinyl jacket, okay? If you get a job and you make more money, you're going to buy more vinyl jackets? No. You're going to buy fewer, and you're going to buy a leather jacket instead, okay? So when we have increases in incomes, for normal goods, that will cause the demand for these goods to shift out, to increase, to go out to the right. But for inferior goods, bicycles versus automobiles, or T-shirts versus, decent shirts, or right, that will buy less T-shirts and more collared shirts or whatever, okay? All right? So inferior goods, when our incomes rise, demand for these goods decreases. But normal goods, as our incomes rise, demand increases. All right so far? Okay. What else do we have? Populations, tastes and preferences, related goods. Okay? There are two different kinds of related goods. We have complements. Sorry, I always do that. It's not complement, it's complement. All right, complement with an E, complement, something that goes together. Compliment, you look really good today. Okay. Complements, you'll have to refer to your book for the proper spelling because you probably can't read that. And substitutes, okay? Complements, if I buy coffee, I always buy a donut, okay? Substitutes, if I can't get coffee, I buy tea, all right? Okay. A change in the price of a complement or a substitute will physically shift the curve for its partner, okay? I'm going to go to a new one, so get rid of that, okay? All right, so let's see. What we have coffee, cream, and tea, okay? So demand curve for coffee, a demand curve for cream, and a demand curve for tea. I gave up drinking coffee when I quit smoking cigarettes. The two just seem to go together, all right? Well, my wife pours me half a cup of coffee every day, and I drink about an inch of it. That's about it. All right. Coffee and cream are complements, okay? If we buy coffee, we tend to buy cream. Now, the law of demand says that if the price of coffee goes up, we will reduce the quantity demanded, okay? We will buy less. If we always have cream with our coffee, at every possible price, we will buy less cream. Okay? So when we have complements, if the price of one goes up, we buy less of that, which means at every possible price, we buy less of what goes with it. If the price of an automobile rises, at every possible price, we buy fewer tires. We buy fewer Yokohamas, we buy fewer Michelins, we buy fewer high-performance Pirellis, okay, if you will. So as a price, when we have substitutes, a change, I'm not sure what the book tells you. I don't think I like the way I can't remember now, but I don't think I like the way it explains it. As the price of one goes up, we need less of what goes with it, okay? So it'll move it in the same direction. If we take less of this, price goes up, we take less of this, we take less of what goes with it, all right? So an increase in price of the good itself will cause a decrease in demand for its partner, okay? All right with that? What's going to happen over here at tea, though? Okay? If we drink less coffee, but we always have coffee or tea, if we drink less coffee because the price of coffee went up, we drink less, what's going to happen over here? It's going to increase. At every possible price, we will drink more tea. So when we have substitutes, okay, an increase in the price of one will increase demand for the alternative. If I can't buy chicken, I buy more beef. If the price of chicken goes up, every possible price, I eat more beef. Okay, actually, I don't eat much beef at all. Eat more fish, right? Fish is good. Well, that won't do it, will it? Okay. All right? So that's related goods. Complements and substitutes. Complements, moving in the same direction. Price goes down, we eat more hamburgers, we need more hamburger buns. Okay? You may even get a question on the test. The price of hot dogs goes up. What will happen to demand for hot dog buns? Actually, what will happen? Yeah, hot dog buns. And I'd always have a student come up. Excuse me, Professor, what is hot dog bun? Okay. All right. So if you don't eat hot dogs, do you? You don't know what's in there. Actually, you know what's in there. All the things that they can't sell you in any other form. Right? I haven't eaten a hot dog, oh God, 10 years anyway. They're good though. All right, okay, so complements, move in the same direction, substitutes opposite direction. Price of coffee goes up, we drink more tea. Yes?
Would that be a shift in the demand curve, or would it be a movement?
It would be a shift in which? If the price goes up, okay, let's say the price of coffee rises, goes from here to here, we move along the demand curve from this point to this point. We want less, okay? However, because we're consuming less coffee, and we always need some caffeine, that means at every possible price, we would increase our purchases of tea. No matter what the price of tea, we would buy more because we're drinking less coffee. So it would be the whole curve shifting out, okay? When we have related goods, a change in price of one will shift the demand curve for the other, okay? If it's a complement, same direction, we buy less of this, we need less of this. Substitutes, opposite. We buy less of this, we need more of the alternative, okay? I'm sorry? The cream shifted too, okay, because these were complements, right? If we drank less coffee, at every possible price, we would drink less, we use less tea. Okay, exactly right. All right? Okay. So let's see. I need another one. That's good. Okay, so we have population, incomes, tastes and preferences, related goods, meaning substitutes and complements, and then one more, expectations about future prices. In fact, we can actually expand this expectations business, and I'll tell you why in just a minute, all right? Let's say we're talking about gasoline, okay? You drive to work every day, and on Fridays on the way home, you usually fill up for the weekend, okay? But on Monday, you read in the newspaper that by Friday, the price of gasoline is going to go up by 15 cents a gallon, okay? Are you going to wait till Friday to buy your gas now? No, you're going to buy it today. You're going to increase our purchases immediately, okay? If we think the price of a good is going to go up in the future, we increase our purchase of that good today, okay? But what if you found out on Friday, on your way home, that on the radio, that the price of gasoline is expected to go down by 15 cents by Monday? Are you still going to stop at the gas station on Friday? No, you're going to cut back your purchases, okay? At every possible price, you would cut back and wait for the price to fall, and then go out and purchase, okay? So expectations about the future affect our buying decisions today. We think prices are going to be higher tomorrow. We buy more today before the price goes up. But if we think prices are going to be lower in the future, we cut back our purchases today, okay? All right? So expectations about future prices. Now, this is also true about the future in general, okay? Not just in terms of prices, but let's say, we'll put the lobster curve in again. Lobster. Okay, this is our demand curve for our group here. But we all work for the same company, and the boss just showed up and said, listen, I'm not saying it's you, but next week some people are going to get laid off. Okay? Not saying it's you. I'm just giving you a warning. Would you go out and buy your lobster this weekend if you thought you might get laid off? No, hell no. Okay? Demand for everything would shift in if you were worried about your job for the future. What if the boss came in and said, hey, I got good news. I just went to talk to the big boss, and he says to give you a big raise next month. Okay? Now how many lobsters you going to buy? Okay? At every price, we would buy more. All right? Okay? So our expectations, in fact, we're going to see when we get into macroeconomics, that expectations about the future have a big role in the economy, okay? In fact, recently they talked about something that says this is going to be good for the economy. The future should be better. You know what that was? Consumer confidence, okay? As consumer confidence rises, people feel better about the future. They're not worried about their jobs. They think they're going to make more money, so what do? They go out and buy more stuff. And when they go out and buy more stuff, factories have to have more people, output increases, incomes go up, everybody's happy, right? But if you're worried about the future, if you read in the newspaper that the government thinks a recession might hit in the fall, you could lose your job, what happens to your spending decisions then? You cut back, right? All of the things that you normally buy that you buy less of, save your money just in case. Okay? All right. That's demand. Now we have its partner, supply. Supply is pretty much the opposite in terms of price, okay? If we put up, I'm sorry, should I put up price first? Price. I'll get to it. And quantity supplied, okay, we have a different reaction. Oops, I did exactly wrong. Sorry. Okay. In terms of supply, we have a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. As price rises, all of the things remaining the same, the quantity supplied will increase also. Okay? Think of it this way. Okay? If it costs you $2 to make something and the price is $5, okay, you have a profit of $3. If, however, the price rises to $10 for whatever reason, okay, now what happens to your profit? It's gone up now to $8. Do you have a reason to produce more of these? Yeah, you're making more money, okay? So as price increases but costs remain the same, profits increase, manufacturers now have an incentive to increase output of that good. They make more money. Remember last time we had two different goods, A's and B's. I'm making a $5 profit on each one. I'll split my production 50-50. But if the profit on B's goes up to $15 and I still only can make 5 on A's, I'm making more B's and not so much A's, okay? So the law of supply says at higher relative prices, more of a good will be supplied, produced, okay? Offered for sale. All right so far? Okay. So we have an upward sloping supply curve that shows a direct relationship. As price increases, quantity supplied also increases. At that low price, they're not making much money, so we're only getting that amount. But if the price rises to here, they're making more profit on every unit, so they will give us more, okay? Give us more. All right so far? A change in price will lead to a change in quantity. If the price of the good goes from $15 to $20, okay, then the quantity supplied will also increase, 15 to 20. Okay? We will move along the supply curve. This is a change in quantity supplied. Okay? Quantity supplied. A movement along the supply curve caused by a change in price. Okay? Change in non-price factors will shift the entire supply curve in or out. Okay? All right? So in other words, a change in quantity supplied is moving up and down up and down in that column. Okay? Changes in price lead to changes in quantities. But changes in non-price factors are going to move us to a different column. At every possible price, we want more. Okay? This is a shift of the supply curve outward. Okay? At this price, let's say it's $15. We used to only get 15, but now at that price, we're getting 20. Okay? At every possible price, we're getting more when we have a change in supply itself. Okay? Change in supply, moving from this column to this column or back. Change in quantity supplied, moving up and down the column. Okay? Changes in price lead to changes in quantities. Changes in non-price factors will shift the entire curve out or in. Okay? So this change in supply, this change in quantity supplied. Okay for that? Okay. What would cause manufacturers to produce more at every possible price? Primarily what shifts the supply curve are changes in costs and profits. Okay? Changes in costs and profits. Let's move to another. Let's say that widgets. Okay, widgets cost $10 to produce. Okay, so we have possible prices. We'll say $15, $20, and $25 price. Okay, cost is $10. Right, so profit is $5, $10, and $15. All right. What happens if the cost of producing this good falls? That it no longer costs $10 to produce. Let's say it only costs $5. Now what happens to the profit on these goods at every possible price? It increases. So at every possible price, manufacturers have a reason to increase output. So if costs fall and profits increase at every possible price, they will give us more because at every possible price, they are making more money, okay? So when costs fall, supply curves shift out. When costs rise, supply curves shift in, okay? So first we have changes in costs. What type of costs do manufacturers have to bear? Labor. Anything else? Land, capital, entrepreneurs. Okay, so factors of production, and exactly right, taxes. Okay, if taxes go up at every possible price, there's less. If taxes on manufacturers go up at every possible price, there's less profit. At every possible price, less will be produced. Which, by the way, this is a fiscal policy item. Okay? Remember I said there's two ways to manage the economy: fiscal policy, government taxation and spending, and monetary policy, changing the amount of money in circulation. If the government wanted to stimulate the economy, to get all manufacturers to produce more, hire more people, what could they do? Cut your taxes. And this is exactly one of the things that they try to do in fiscal policy to stimulate the economy. If they cut taxes, production at every possible price is more profitable. So at every possible price, more will be produced. And to produce that more, you have to hire more workers, and everybody gets their job. Okay? All right? So costs, primarily the factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and taxes. Okay? Changes in these will shift the supply curve in or out. Okay? What else might do it? Costs. Well, actually, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot that. That's a cost. Okay? Advances in technology reduce costs, right? If I can produce 1 unit an hour and they have to pay me $15 an hour, then that unit costs $15. But if they give me a machine, now I can advance in technology and I can now produce 3. Now the price of that good has just dropped to $5 each. Okay? More profit for the manufacturer. Okay? So advances in technology absolutely reduce costs. So these 3 things, changes in these costs, will shift the supply curve in or out. What else? Numbers of suppliers. Population again. Okay? If this represents 5 companies and we get 10 companies at every possible price, there'll be more production. Okay? So increases in the number of producers, at every possible price, more will be produced. If a bunch of factories shut down, at every possible price, less will be produced. Okay? And finally, I'll get it right one of these days. Expectations again. Okay? About prices. Okay? If I'm a manufacturer, and they react opposite to us, okay? If they think the price is going to be higher in the future, when do they want to offer it for sale? Now or in the future? In the future. So what will they do today? Cut back. Okay? All right? I used to own a sports car, Toyota MR2 Spider. Are you familiar with that one? Total Bay magnet. I was white with a gold top, not yellow. Are you referring to something?
I saw one earlier.
Oh, there's my buddy Jean Denis got one too. Yeah, I used to drive that to work here, but I almost got killed up at Sullivan Square by a truck because I was so low to the ground and he was so high up he couldn't see me, and he cut that curve. I had to drive up onto the sidewalk to keep from getting crushed by him. Actually, my wife made me get rid of it because she was sure I was going to kill myself. I shouldn't film this, but the truth of the matter was, no, I better not say. The way I used to drive that. At home at night, I used to have night class, and on Route 2, I live way out near Fitchburg, and I would have that car, for the last mile, I would punch that car up to 100 miles an hour. I know, I would have been put in jail. But I think why my wife made me get rid of it was because it was attracting so many women. Actually, I was driving up through Malden here on my way home, down the road, and this guy's walking down the street, and I look in my rearview mirror, and I see him go like that, and I hear him go, "Damn!" Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But I had to get rid of it. Okay? I had to supply this. When am I going to make the most money? In May or in October? In May, of course, because people want it for the summer. So if I want to make the most money, when am I going to offer my car for supply? In May. But if it's October, I'm going to cut back my supply because I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to wait until the following year. Okay? So expectations about future prices. If we all think the price is going to be higher in the future, we buy now. We increase our demand now. But what happens to manufacturers? They decrease their supply now. Okay? They act oppositely. They think price is going to be higher in the future. They supply less today. Wait for the future to come. We think the price is going to be higher in the future. We demand more today before the future arises. Okay? You all right with that? We react differently to price expectations. All right? All right, so these are the ceteris paribus conditions of supply that will shift the supply curve in or out. Okay? Am I ahead of you? Did I talk about things that aren't No, okay, good. I'm not sure whether we're in chapter 4 already or not. Okay? Now let's put supply and demand together. Okay. Again, let's do widgets. Widgets, and we'll put price. And again, I'm using absolute price. Okay. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Quantity demanded at a price, we'll say, I might as well do it the opposite, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. And then quantity supplied, just the opposite. As price increases, quantity supplied will increase. Okay? So we get 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. All right? Now we can plot these two on a graph. We've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And prices are the same, 10. Okay, let's do demand first. Okay, at a price of $10, we'll take 50, 20, 30, 40, 10. Get a demand curve, and then just the opposite. At a price of 10, not making much money, so we only get 10. Prices rise to 20, we get 20. At 30, we get 30. 40 at 40, and 50 at 50. So we have our upward sloping supply curve. Okay? All right? Now, when the price is only $10, okay, we want a lot of them because it's cheap, right? Everybody's willing to buy because we don't have to sacrifice much of other goods. But they're not making any money, so they're only going to offer 10. So when price is here at $10, suppliers are only going to offer 10, okay? But 50 of us show up to buy. Right? What's going to happen? Well, there's a shortage now. Exactly right. When you have a shortage, when the quantity demanded, okay, quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. Okay, not enough to go around. What's going to happen? Those people who love widgets so much that they'd be willing to pay more than $10 in order to get one because they know their chances of getting one are slim. There's 50 people showed up and there's only 10 available. They're going to offer a higher price in order to get one. Now, does that sound realistic? Yes and no, okay? Here's why. I mean, if you go down to GameStop, and it's the first opening day for the new Sony PlayStation 12, whatever, and there's a million geeks there, right, that want to buy it, and they've only got 20, and there's 40 people there wanting to get one. Can you go in and say, "I'll give you more, I'll give you more"? No, they're not going to listen. They're going to say, "This is the price, first come, first serve," okay? But it does work that way sometimes. When my wife and I were first looking to buy our first house here in Massachusetts a long, long time ago, okay, we were looking at prices in the $100,000 to $110,000 range, all right? So we'd go through the newspaper, and I would pick out 4 or 5 places that we should go look at that are advertised in that range, and we would drive and we'd show up, and there'd be a whole mess of people there. There were more people looking for houses in this price range than the number available, okay? So my wife and I would go through the house, and I would say, "Yeah, that's nice, let me talk to the owner." And I'd say, "I understand you're asking $110 for this?" And she'd say, "I was, but somebody already offered me $114, okay? If you're interested in this house, you've got to offer me more, all right?" So because of the shortage, people were beginning to bid up the prices of houses, okay? So it does happen, right? Remember, this is simplification of the real world, okay? So those consumers who place a higher value on this good, in order to get one, will bid up the price. And let's say they offer 20, okay? Now remember, when price rises, the quantity manufacturers are willing to offer for sale will increase, but the quantity we're willing to buy will go down. So when price rises to 20, now they will give us 20, quantity supplied is now 20, but some of us, because of the increase in price, will drop out. Now only 40 of us are willing to buy. But there's still a shortage of 20, okay? Those people who, out of these 20 who place a higher value on this good than $20 will offer more money for it. So let's say they now bid 30, okay? When the price rises to 30, at that price, they are now offering us 30. And at that price, we want 30. Now there's no more shortage. There's no reason for anybody to bid up the price. There's just enough to go around. We are at what's called equilibrium price, okay? The equilibrium price is that price where quantity demanded will go up the demand curve, 30, and quantity supplied are equal. Equilibrium occurs where quantity demand, at the price where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. When it is below that, we get a shortage. Quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, and that will cause the price to rise as those consumers who place a higher value on this good will bid up the price in order to get one, okay? And the price will rise to where the quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. Then there is no reason for anybody to offer more money because there's just enough to go around, okay? This is also called the market clearing price. Everything that gets produced gets sold, okay? When price is above that, and you can see here, at a price of $30, we want 30, we want 30, and they're giving us 30. But when price is below that, the amount that we want is greater than the amount that they're willing to supply, and we have shortages. As you can see, when price is above that, we end up with the opposite situation. At a price of $40, now only 20 of us are willing to buy, but they will, because of that higher profit, will offer to sell 40, okay? So if we start up here at 50 bucks, at $50, how many will we buy? Okay, only 10, okay, 10. But at $50, they want to try and sell us 50 because they're making a fortune. Now they've produced too many. We have a surplus of 40, okay? Surplus. What happens at the end of the holiday season near Christmas when Macy's finds out that they've got too many women's dresses? What are they going to do? They're going to have a sale, right? Exactly, okay? They're going to begin to reduce price, all right? Now, as price falls, what happens to profit? It decreases. So as price falls, the quantity they're offering for sale will decrease. But again, as price falls, the quantity we're willing to buy will increase. So if they drop the price to 40, now because they're making less profit, instead of offering, that's demand, all the way over here, because they're making less profit, now they're going to offer only 40 instead of 50. But because the price has gone down, instead of only 10 of us wanting it, now 20. Now there's only a surplus of 20. Okay? They still have too many. How are they going to attract more buyers? Lower the price. But when price falls, profits decrease, so they will give us less. But as price falls, we buy more. So if the price falls to 30, now they will increase their supply from 20 to 30, and we will decrease the amount that we want from 40 to 30. Now there's just enough to go around, no extra. No reason for them to lower price anymore, okay? So over the course of time, all other things remaining the same, prices below equilibrium will cause a shortage and will result in the price rising. Prices above equilibrium will cause a surplus and will result in the price falling, okay? And unless something else changes, once we reach equilibrium, we'll stay there, okay? And we may reach equilibrium quickly or slowly, okay? Now, what's going to change? By the way, right, market price always occurs here, okay? Where supply and demand cross, that's market equilibrium price, okay? What would cause market equilibrium price for lobster to change? We just talked about a bunch of things that could happen to shift these curves, okay? Let's find out, we find out that lobster makes you live longer. What's going to happen to this demand curve now if we believe that lobster is better for you? It's going to shift out. So the demand curve now shifts out. This good has become more popular. What's going to happen to price? Equilibrium price is always where supply and demand curve intersect. Price is going to rise, okay? Price will go up. Okay with that? Okay. Why we get changing prices in the economy is because we get advances in technology, and what does that do? That shifts the supply curve out and causes prices to fall. We have expectations about the future. We think price is going to be higher, so we go and we buy more now. What happens to price? It does go up. In economics, we have a lot of self-fulfilling expectations, okay? We think price is going to go up in the future, so what do? We go out and we buy more of it now. Okay? And what happens to price? It does go up, all right? Expectations about the future, population changes, tastes and preferences, taxes increase or decrease, all of these things cause the demand and supply curves to shift in and out. And as they shift in or out, we get changes in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. We were here at that quantity, in that price. This good became more popular at every possible price. We wanted more. When the demand curve shifts out, we move from this point on the supply curve to that one. Now the equilibrium price shifts up from here where they cross to up here where they cross. So we get a price increase. Okay? You all right with that? Okay.
So sometimes when media tell us that some price is going to go up, eventually it goes up not only because of that event, because we are demanding more price.
Exactly correct. Precisely right. Yes. When they say prices are probably going to go up, you can bet they are definitely going to go up because we all say, oh, price is going to go up, better go buy one now, right? And what does that do? In the past, we were buying and they were giving us 40 here at equilibrium. Now, we want 50 of them. What's going to happen to price? They're only making 40, we want 50, that's going to push the price up, okay? So changes in any of these ceteris paribus conditions will cause the supply and the demand curve to shift in or out. And you're going to, yes?
Let's say you have a business, and you always will have competition, but
Sure.
you always be on top of the competition.
Yes.
The best business model is always to say like underneath the equilibrium price, but just go to
Underneath the market price, yeah, or underneath your competitor's price. Yeah. Again, that's real world. Okay? We're working in the theoretical world of economics here and not the real world. This is simplification. Remember I said that economic theories are simplifications of the real world. So that type of reality doesn't come into play. Okay, but you're quite correct, that's true. And certainly those are the things that you would consider in running your business. But when we're talking about economic activity, theory, shifting of curves and things like that, we keep those things out of the picture, all right? We just talk in generalities. This is really generalities. I might do something that you might not do, right? In general, we'll all do this, but some of us might not, all right? So exceptions to the rule, can't consider them. All right? All right. Yes?
The situation that you just explained would also move us under the supply curve?
Yes. In fact, it would.
The price is
Let's look at that. We might as well, okay? I'm glad that you brought it up, okay? We think the price is going to go up in the future, okay? When do we want to buy, now or in the future? Now. So demand for this good will shift down. Manufacturers, however, if they think the price is going to go up in the future, when do they want to supply, now or in the future? In the future. So they will cut back their supply today, okay? So the supply curve will shift in. We started at this equilibrium price, and when both supply and demand shifted in, price went up, okay? Self-fulfilling, absolutely.
But you
Okay.
said if the price changes, we move on the curve.
Ah.
But now we shift.
Yes, that's correct. Let me restate that, okay? Changes in prices lead to changes in quantities, okay? All right with that? Changes in prices lead to changes in quantities. Changes in prices do not shift curves. However, when curves shift, we get a change in price, okay? Does that make sense? Changes in prices themselves will not shift the curve. In other words, if this is the demand curve for lobster and the price of lobster changes, okay, we're going to move from one point on the curve to the other. The whole curve is not going to shift in around, all right? So a change in price will not shift the curve, but a shift of the curve will change price. If this good becomes more popular, at every price we want more, and the price will in fact rise. All right, okay with that? Okay, everybody good with that? All right, so changes in prices themselves don't shift the curves, but when curves shift, prices change, usually, not always. Okay? In fact, you're going to need to try to figure out, in fact, you're going to need to know what happens when when one of the ceteris paribus conditions of the good change. Let's look at a few of these, okay? Good X. Actually, let's put it, I'll do a little experiment with you, all right? Okay. We'll have, why is this doing that? Grapes, raisins, and cereal. Okay? All right? These two are substitutes. Actually, no, I should do something. No, I got to add one more. Okay. Grapes, raisins, cranberries, and cereal. Okay? I'm going to put up supply and demand graphs for each one of these. Okay, here's the deal, okay? We use grapes to make raisins. When we eat cereal, we always have either raisins or cranberries, okay? So these two items are substitutes, and cereal and cranberries and cereal and raisins are complements, all right? Okay. Now, let's say that California grapes, right, that the California Grape Growers Cooperative puts on a big advertising campaign, okay? And grapes now are really popular in California. People love grapes more than they used to. What is going to happen over here in the market for grapes? Which curve will shift in what direction? Demand will shift down. Exactly right. This good becomes more popular. At every possible price we want more. Demand curve shifts out. We get an increase in demand. What will happen to the price of grapes? What happened? Okay, price of grapes will go up. All right, so far. So that increase in popularity causes an increase in demand, which causes the price of grapes to rise. What's the relationship between grapes and raisins? Not really. You make raisins out of grapes, okay? If the cost of grapes go up, what's going to happen in the raisin market? Remember, when costs rise, which is cost is a ceteris paribus condition of supply. Remember, when costs rise, profits shrink, and when profits shrink, less is offered at every possible price. So if the costs of grapes go up, what will happen to the price here? Supply will decrease, exactly right. So the supply will shift in. What will happen to the price of raisins? It will go up. Okay? Now, what will happen in the market for cranberries? Yes, these two are substitutes for each other. Whenever you eat cereal, you eat raisins or cranberries. The price of raisins has gone up. Demand for cranberries will shift out. Exactly right. And what will happen to the price of cranberries? That will go up also. Okay? Now let's say that whenever you eat cranberries, you always have it with a bowl of cereal. Okay? What's going to happen in the cereal market if the price of cranberries goes up? No, not supply. Demand. Okay? Demand. Demand will do what? Will shift in. Okay? And what will happen to the price of cereal? It will go down. Okay? All right? Yes?
Well, since they both are supplements, but they both prices went up at one point, there's a equilibrium for the
That's a good point. Yeah, that would be true. Interesting. That's a very good point. That's a very interesting observation. I never thought of that. What he's saying is both of these prices would end up going up eventually, right? Because of the supply of raisins decrease that caused an increase in the price of raisins, so we now buy more cranberries. But that increase in demand for cranberries would also raise the price of that, so maybe they would be equal, yeah? But both prices go up, and you always eat cereal when you eat these things? Less cereal, right, at every price, because we're eating less cranberries and less raisins, right? Okay with that? Okay. So when a curve shifts, price will change, okay? If supply increases, what will happen to price? Supply shifts out, price falls, okay? This good becomes more popular. What's going to happen to the price? It's going to go up. Demand will shift out. Price will go up, okay? What else? Let's see. Government increases taxes on producers. What will happen to price? It will go up. As taxes rise, profits decrease, less will be supplied at every price, supply curve will shift in, price will rise, okay? So these types of things you're going to have to be familiar with. Good becomes more popular, price is going to go up. Government reduces costs of taxes, what's going to happen? Supply curve will shift out, price will go down. There's an advance in technology. What will happen then? As technology increases, costs fall, profits increase, supply shifts out, price goes down. Okay? So these are the type of things that you're going to have to be familiar with. All right?
If the taxes goes up, the demand will also shift in.
Only if it's a tax on consumers. Okay? Why would demand shift in if taxes go up on us? Income falls, exactly right. Our disposable, usable income would fall. Okay? In fact, we're going to see later on that if we're worried about inflation, okay, one of the things we can do is increase taxes on people so they have less money to spend and they buy less goods, surpluses are created, and prices fall. Okay? all right? So a lot of these things, like I said, see, if you don't get this now, you're going to have a hard time understanding those things in the future when we get there, all right? Okay. Let's see, what else is in this chapter that we need to talk about? That's it. We're done. Time to go home. All right. I'll do one more thing, and then I actually probably will call it a day, right? So I told you it's going to be easy. I don't think we're going to have any trouble completing the program this semester because we have the full semester to do it. And usually we're short one day. But remember we talked about, we'll just do this one thing, okay? Expectations about the future, okay? No, here's a better example. Okay, we'll do that in a minute. All right, this good becomes more popular, okay? At every possible price, we want more, and at the same time, there are advances in technology that reduce the cost of producing this good, okay? What's going to happen to the demand curve if this good becomes more popular? It will shift out, okay? Now, as we get an advance in technology, that reduces costs, increases profits at every possible price, okay? What's going to happen to the supply curve? It's going to shift out also, okay? As costs fall, profits increase at every price, more will be offered. What will happen to the equilibrium quantity? Equilibrium always occurs here, right? It's going to increase, right? Okay. That makes sense. We want more, and they're giving us more, right? What about equilibrium price? What's going to happen to that? Stay the same? Might not. In this case, did it stay the same? Not quite. Okay. How about if I shift it out? Let's say that supply shifts out just by a little bit, okay? But demand shifts out by a lot. I should use a different color. There's a green one. Okay, supply shifts out a little bit, but demand shifts out a lot. Okay? We started here, didn't we? No, here. Okay, we started here, but demand shifted out a lot and supply only shifted out a little. What happened to price? It went up, okay? I can do it again. This time, we'll shift out supply a lot. And demand, this good only became a little more popular. Demand shifts out now. Now what happened to price? It fell down, okay? What's the point of this? Both curves are shifting in the same direction. We know what's going to happen to quantity. We want more, and they're giving us more. Quantity's got to be going up, okay? But what happens to price depends upon which one shifts more, right? Think of it this way. We want a few more, and they give us a lot more. What's going to happen to price? It's going to go down. We want a whole mess more, and they only give us a little more. What will happen to price? It'll go up. We want 50 more, and they give us 50 more. Stays the same, okay? So unless we know which curve is shifting more than the other, we can only figure out what's happening to quantity, but not price, okay? And the opposite is true when both curves are shifting in opposite directions, okay? Let's say, talk about that one with price expectations, right? We think that prices are going to go up in the future, okay? So what do we want to do today? Buy now. Demand curve shifts out. They think prices are going to be higher in the future. So when do they want to supply? In the future. So they cut back supply today, okay? What happens to price? Absolutely goes up. Our expectations are fulfilled. We think price is going to be higher in the future. We buy more. They think price is going to be higher in the future. They give us less. Price goes up. Shortage, right? We want 50 more. They give us 50 less. Price is going to go up because of that shortage. What about quantity? Well, this case stayed right the same. Okay? Same situation. Depends on which curve shifts more. Okay? All right? Real quick. I should just go to a new page. In this case, we'll say that demand shifts out a lot, okay? But supply only shifts in a little. What happened? Quantity was here, and now it's out here, okay? It's gotten bigger, all right? So the same situation. When both curves are shifting at the same time, we can figure out what's happening to quantity or price, but not both unless you have complete information about which curve is shifting more. If they're both shifting out, right? If they're both shifting out, we're moving in that direction. If they're both shifting in, we're moving in that direction. Okay? Quantity's got to be going down or up, which means we don't know what's happening to price. But if they're shifting in opposite directions, we want more and they give us less, price goes up. We want less and they give us more, price goes down, okay? But quantity depends upon which curve shifts more, okay? Can go down, can go up. All right with that? Both, think of it, look, both curves are shifting in the opposite directions. You can tell we're moving up and down in this plane, right? At the intersection of these two, my arms is moving up and down as both curves are shifting opposite directions. So we know that price is changing, and you can figure out easy. They give us more, we want less, price is going to go down. We want more, they give us less, price is going to go up. But whether equilibrium quantity increases, decreases, or stays the same depends upon which curve shifts more, okay? When both shifting in the same direction, this is where I always start. If I can't remember what's what, I start with both shifting in the same direction. If both are shifting out, quantity's got to be going up. That must mean I don't know what the price is, okay? But if they're shifting in opposite directions, I can figure out what's happening to price, which means I can't figure out what's happening to quantity, okay? Unless you know more, and you'll never know more, okay? Not in this course. In fact, you won't know much when you, no, not kidding. Hopefully you'll know plenty by the time you leave here, right?